Welcome to Tamika's Story Time. This is a cautionary tale of how love can go wrong that I'm sharing with you. And this particular story is about Anna Angok, and she was a Bristol Township resident, a 29-year-old nurse who had ultimately lost her life at the hands of her ex boyfriend due to a pregnancy she did not want to abort. And in front of her 2 year old, she was strangled to death in front of her 2 year old. And this happened September 16th, 2006. Now, to give you the backdrop on this young woman, she was a survivor escaping Sudan, Africa, at a time where it was under war and warfare. So she managed to escape and come to America. And she was 15 at the time when she did so. And so she formulated, with no family here, she formulated a family with those who helped support her throughout the years and who she encountered a friendship with. So she would communicate with her family in Africa throughout the years and keep them abreast on what her life and where her life was going. When her father could not reach her on September 16, he called her best friend, who then went to the apartment to check on her and discovered that she wouldn't answer the door. Nobody came to the door, but her best friend knew that she would never leave her daughter, and she knew that her daughter was in that apartment because she could hear her. So she called 911. 911 came out, and they asked the maintenance man to come to unlock the door because a child was behind the door, and they was concerned for the mother. When the maintenance man came to open the door, he discovered Anna laying on the couch with blood seeping from her nose and from her ears, and the toddler, her daughter, sitting across on the chair across from her. They also discovered a telephone cord wrapped around her neck. So this was a homicide. Then they took the child and they gave the child to the best friend, and they did their investigation. And upon their investigation, they discovered that she was 5 weeks pregnant and that she was dating this particular individual who went by the name Jaleel. So they contact the number for Jaleel that was in her phone, and they informed him that they were there. They had discovered Anna's body, and did he have anything or know anything about her, and when was the last time he spoke to her? They needed to speak with him. So they did. He came, and throughout the course of the investigation, he made it clear that her ex-boyfriend was sending her threatening messages. So it was confirmed through the best friend that she was receiving threatening messages, and they looked through her phone and they could see some of the messages that was being texted to her, and it was saying very disturbing things to her, making threats about if they see her, what they was going to do to her. It didn't matter that she moved on, that they would get the boyfriend too. She better watch her back, and all sorts of idle threats, which the boyfriend Jaleel was aware of, and he said that he gave her something to carry on her so that she could protect herself if need be. Now they contacted the ex-boyfriend who Jaleel perceived that these messages was coming from. And when they interviewed him and they checked his alibi, he was not anywhere in the proximity of Anna's apartment, nor did he have any reason, because he was moved on with a new relationship. They checked his phone. So they eliminated him as the person who was delivering these text messages of threats. to her. However, they discovered that Jaleel had just been released from prison and he lived in a halfway home. And that, they asked him, did you know that she was pregnant? He said, I did. And I was happy to be, that she was expecting. And I wanted her to go along with the pregnancy. And because she's a very good mother, he made that clear. And when they spoke to the best friend again, they asked, was this the case? And the best friend said, no, that was not the case. He was very unhappy that she was pregnant. He wanted her to get an abortion. He made it clear he wanted an abortion. But she said no, and that's what ultimately caused their relationship to end, because he wanted an abortion. He wanted her to get an abortion. So this was a lie that they caught this young man in. So they said, okay. So they let him go ahead and talk his lies when they already known that this was not the case, what he was saying. Then he leaned forward as if he was trying to cry, but no tears came out. And he rabbled on like, I knew I shouldn't have left her. I knew I shouldn't have left her in the apartment. So they said, well, when was the last time you seen her? He said, oh, I didn't see her until you guys called me. I was supposed to come to see her. So again, they went through his phone and they called a friend, the last person he spoke with, and they said, they had Jaleel and they was questioning him. They need to ask him a few questions just to, compare some notes. So they asked this guy in a different room, the same questions they asked Jaleel. When was the last time you seen Jaleel? And do you know of anybody that will possibly do the relationship any harm? Was there any cracks in the relationship? The guy said, I picked him up from her apartment. No, I don't know anything about any cracks. And they said, well, when did you pick him up from her apartment? And he said, oh, I picked him up on September 16th. That was the same day that this woman was murdered. So this, another lie detectives collect, and they questioning this guy. They know that he's lying because now the friend is telling one thing and he's telling a complete opposite story of what the friend is saying and what the best friend is saying. So sure enough, they managed to speak to the father. The father said yes, she informed him that she was pregnant and that he was not happy with the pregnancy and he wanted her to get an abortion. And when he couldn't reach his daughter, he grew concerned. So now they have all these people saying this complete opposite thing that Jaleel's story and what he's saying. So they let the Jaleel know the jig is up. We know that you was not happy with this young lady being pregnant. You wanted her to get an abortion, and she didn't want to get an abortion. So what happened? Why did you kill this girl? Because all fingers is pointing to you, and we already eliminated the ex-boyfriend. He didn't do it. So by this time they putting the handcuffs on Jaleel. So he go ahead and say, look, I panicked. I did not want her to have the baby. I went to her apartment that morning and we got into an argument, and she told me that she was not under any circumstances getting an abortion. She didn't care what I felt. She did it alone before. She would do it alone again. And I think that she was seeing somebody, because she was trying to get rid of me so quickly. And after she told me she was pregnant, and I snapped and I grabbed the first thing that was there, and that was her phone was on the charger, and I snatched it and I began wrapping it around her neck, and I strangled her. Before I knew it, she was gone, and I panicked and I ran out the apartment. So he gave the account of what happened that morning, and this man was locked up, and in Pennsylvania he was on receiving the death penalty. So to alleviate and to free himself from the death penalty, he pleads guilty. So he's in jail for life. He threw his life away to prevent another life from coming, which she could have easily taken care of on her own, what she was doing with her daughter. She was a dedicated mother, a hardworking young woman who did not look for a man's support, needless to say. She was already doing it by herself. And this is how she lost her. She was willing to give up a relationship that she was actually had time vested in another person before him, that she walked away from, and that she made it clear what was the breakup of their relationship. And yet this man still continued to have unprotected sex with this woman. And when she became pregnant, he wanted her to go against her will to accommodate him. So again, she was 5 weeks pregnant, taking care of her daughter alone, her 2-year-old daughter, who witnessed this man strangling her mother and then leave the apartment. When they asked this little girl, when they showed the picture of her ex-boyfriend, this little girl didn't respond. When they put that picture of Jaleel in front of this little girl, the little girl showed a dramatic difference. She pushed the picture away, she cried, turned her head. So not only did they have all these people who was given a complete polar opposite response to what he was giving, they had her daughter who gave a different response from his photos and the ex photo, the guy that she was dating before him. So it was a complete confirmation that this man had did something heinous in front of this child. And that was, without his confession, that was also their evidence against this man, this young man. So it's a tragedy nonetheless, because you have nothing but loss all the way around the board. This little girl lost her mother. This woman lost her life. This young man lost his life, because he'll spend the rest of his life in jail. And this is a problem. It's a loss all the way around. So this is a cautionary tale for everyone, not just for young men who want to think, oh, if I kill her, I'll live happily ever after. I'll be able to go on in the bliss and be this phenomenal individual. No, that's not the case. So many think that, and so many have proven that that will never be the case. Okay? So if you have that thought process, quickly release it from your mind, and move forward with, okay, where and how do we move forward and make a resolution to what is perceived a problem from one end and a blessing on the other end. We have to come together and make it suitable for both of us. Okay? But you can do better before then. Protect yourself. There's so many things out here today that you can catch outside of a pregnancy, or unwanted pregnancy. There's so many diseases, and people is not going to be so forthcoming with that. They're not going to be, they have medication to hide, in fact, to hide diseases, if you will. Not to eliminate the disease, but to hide it, so that if you don't choose to share that you've been infected, you have that right to do so. So with that understanding of today's world we're living in, there is no reason for anybody to be coming up and getting somebody having an unwanted pregnancy, because you have the power before that woman does. Protect yourself. Ladies, this is a cautionary tale not only for the men, but also for the women. Not everyone is a candidate to share your body with. So we want to be mindful of that. Yes, we get into our feelings and emotions very quickly, and we know that this is a person that we want to be with, and when we want to be with somebody, we want to give them something. That's a natural response, if you will, for any one of us. Nobody's exempt from love. We all in search of love. So when we feel as though we want to test those waters and we want to push for that relationship, and regardless of what it is and who is with, as long as we want to be with them, we're going to go along with that notion to move forward. Be cautious on how you move forward. Protect yourself, because a pregnancy is not the only thing that this man can give you. He's not going to share with you, or if he has something, because most people don't want to be rejected. You have this going on today more than any day. I've encountered things that I will share and have shared in my books, but I'm sharing this young lady's story, Anna Angok story, with you, and it's a cautionary tale for us all. Nobody is exempt from tragedy. Nobody. There is nobody. You have to stay prayed up. This is why I share these cautionary tales, testimony stories, if you will. I also share my tea. I have my coffee, and I put my super greens, Live Good super greens. You have supplements that is for your whole body cleanse. Please take them. I encourage you to do so. And I like to give you something for mind, body, and soul. So I say, if you stay strapped with anything, stay strapped with the Lord, because the Lord is the only one to keep us safe, that will keep us protected, that will guard you throughout the times that you don't even know, or situations that you don't even know that is on its way to you. He can intercept, and he is the only shield of protection in this world that we live in. The only shield of protection. The absence of God is the presence of the devil. That will never change. So I say that to say, if you do not have a personal relationship with the Lord, I encourage you to do so. Seek him out. Have a conversation. Just like I'm having a conversation with you, have a conversation with the Lord. This conversation with myself and with the Lord never stops. I'm always conversating. In fact, someone, on a side note of Anna Angok of Bristol Township, I was asked on a telephone call from a family member about this rumors of the Puff Daddy with the TD Jakes situation. Did I believe that it was TD Jakes had something going on? Whatever the situation is, when I went to go speak on this man on the phone about this particular subject, I got tongue-tied. I couldn't even say the man's name. TD Jakes, okay? TD Jakes. Like I'm saying it now, I couldn't say that. And when this was my cousin on the other end of the line, she went to go say his name and couldn't say it. So I said to her, it was then, I said, well, we know the answer. We got the answer, don't we? It wasn't him. It is not true what they're saying. It's a lie. Because we went to go speak on this man and could not say his name. Now, for those that's listening, watching, may say, oh, okay, so what do that mean? Let me tell you what it means. Psalms 105, this is the Bible. In Psalms 105:15, it says, do not touch my anointed, and do not harm my prophets. Do not touch my anointed, and do not harm my prophets. That's God's words. I'm a firm and adamant believer, and I'm convinced because I have had things happen to me, and I have had the Lord lead my path out of dangerous waters. I said, now that is confirmation that what they're saying is not true. Because this man has blessed so many people and anointed so many people's spirit with the word of God, that God has his hands over this man's life. So I'm going to leave that alone, because he has had a greater impact in the positive in the spiritual realm than he has had in the reality, if you will, in the present of what they're saying, that he has this connection with this controversy with Puffy and all the people that he's had or whatever involved in. This was something that I said I needed to share. And I just wanted to share that to say how real God is and how he works. He may not, you may, for those that don't quite understand, this is just to give you an example. This is how the Lord works. He will use a negative to reveal his own. He can use anything. He can use a tragedy and turn it into a blessing. Like the stories that I've told in the other videos, this past story, how this young lady Sherelda in Ohio, her death brought forth a serial killer. They would have never found the other victims had this young lady, who was an adamant churchgoer, not a churchgoer, because people that go to church, no, we're not talking about a lover of the Lord. This young girl was 18 years old, a lover of the Lord, and she was murdered, but the Lord used her death to unveil the darkness that was happening in that state, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, at that time of her demise. It was other women who were murdered and buried, and their bodies never found. Their bodies wasn't recovered until this young lady Sherelda, her body was found. So the Lord, he works in mysterious ways. And if we're talking trauma, he works in trauma, he works in chaos, he works in blessings, he works in all. It's not an element of life that the Lord can't work in. And I just wanted to say, to be clear on that, just to give you confirmation on the Lord and how he works. That's just a tad bit, but I got more, because I have plenty of testimonies to share, and I want to share them with you so that you can be blessed. I don't just want this to be a story that I'm telling. It's a story of many stories. This is many people's stories, but this particular young lady, Anna Angok of Bristol Township, PA, was murdered September 16th, 2006. And this young man, Jaleel, was the culprit. He murdered her, and the reason why, because she was 5 weeks pregnant with his child, which he was not equipped to receive. He felt in his mind that he didn't want a child. This woman was able to take care of this child, her child that she was already doing, her toddler, by herself. She was in this country by herself, maintaining since she was 15 years old until she ran into Jaleel, and it cost her life. She wanted a romance with this young man, and that cost her life. That's how easy it can happen. It's nobody's exempt from it. So God bless her, her daughter, this young child, this is a young woman now. My condolence to all. But I say, if you stick around with your girl, I have much more stories and testimonies, if you will, to share, and I look forward to sharing them with you. Please give me thumbs up, a like, and a notification button so that you can be aware when the next video drops. Peace.